Okay, I'm going to try to run through things fast because we want to let Jason and teach us. If it's an easier way to stack and whack, I'm happy. And I've always been afraid to try one. But then I've had other people say they need to mention something, so we're going to try to go fast, okay? Welcome everybody. Pat, are you here? Pat's going to tell us if we have guests and how many members are here.
Well, so far, has everybody signed in? We have 48 people present and no guests.
It is off season. I don't know if we have an off season, but kind of. We used to have a lot of snowbirds, not as many anymore. But. Okay, Judy, do you have anything to? I saw your face. Do you have anything for treasury report? Okay. Isn't that nice? We're copacetic. My brother brought that word up again. How many people remember copacetic? That ages us all very much. You know that. Okay. We sent the minutes out for you. Do we have any questions on the minutes or corrections?
Move to approve.
Okay, Cindy Sanders moves to approve. And Sharon Kalinowski seconds. Can I have a vote? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. There's what the state and the government requires of us all done right now. All right. Okay. We have set up a charity sewing day once a month at the church here. It is going to be the first Tuesday of the month from 10 to 4. We tried to get it going with 3 days notice and that didn't work out. But we're hoping to do it in July if we have an issue with that because Sue Martin, who wants to have a day to work on fidgets and things, will not be here. She has a wedding to go to in her family, her son. Congratulations, yay. So we will try to give you notice at least 24 hours in advance if we can't do it until we get into the swing of it all. It's a brand new thing for us. But it's a chance to come, like for fidgets, everything's here. Bring a machine, your scissors, thread, and help embellish because she has a lot of blanks that need to be embellished and she might have some that need to have binding put on them, whatever. So help with that would really help. Coral and Annette, do you want to talk about, or one of you two, talk about next month's meeting?
Yes. It's July and it's ice cream and socializing. Everybody bring whatever they want to show or talk about for Christmas stuff. So it's not a formal program, it's what we all like to do anyway. Right?
Thank you, Coral. And you know, if you have a little thing you love to make people for Christmas, bring it, because a lot of us are looking for ideas, and we may have an idea for a little pop-up class on a Saturday or something where they can teach you how to make it. So we love doing little things like that where we have time to sit and sew. Okay, block of the month.
So Joe's coming up with all your entries. How many do we have, Joe? 29. So I think if whoever wins them makes one more, 30 would make a nice quilt because they're 10-inch. And so whoever wins them will go home with pretty much a quilt. Did you ladies have fun doing your circles? Yeah. I even have some people who said they might try applique after doing that. Oh, I don't have my glasses. You do, Joe.
All right.
I'm making Joe do all the work today.
Ticket number is 540930.
What's your name? Don? All right, I'll have to remember that and report to Mindy.
The person that won them and say, what
What's your last name?
It's so convenient, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, congratulations. You fly.
Okay, we're gonna do door prize. We have 2 door prizes again tonight. Who am I gonna ask? Who am I gonna ask? Patty, a number from 1 to
48.
20.
Tanya Rose.
now, time. We have a motion or we have a?
Oh, that stuff's pretty neat. My daughter and I both did.
I have the worst chance that my draft in, so I need, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, the UFO challenge. Sue, Aurora, who's gonna talk?
Okay,
Sue can talk.
I'm coming.
She's a coming.
I'm coming. A little bit. And then we're Okay, so we're doing pretty good. Most everybody that is doing the UFOs, zero me, sorry, with the Quilts of Valor, blah, blah, blah. But with UFOs, I've got a lot of people that signed up. There's 10 ladies. Everybody's been sending pictures, which is awesome. But we know with the UFOs, it's all about honesty. So, like me, honestly, I think I got 5 off my list on so far. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to send a picture in. It's the UFOs. We have the sheets. It's just the matter that, okay, you get them done, you get them done. If you don't, you don't. Now, I will be, as everybody knows, I'm gonna go to my son's wedding. Yay! Sorry, I'm a girl. But everybody's been doing a really great job. And they're sending in pictures. And the only thing is if you want to finish your UFOs, or if you want to finish the next same list. Oh my God, mine's gonna be forever. But just send it in. And then we're gonna be doing the drawing. Aurora and I are working on the UFOs together on the list. And we're gonna be doing a drawing in July. Thank you, ma'am. And the winners.
3 winners, and for if you turn in 6 UFOs that you finish, you get 6 tickets, so that's 6 tries, but you can only win once.
There you go.
And if you're a snowbird, you still can win, and we'll hold the prizes for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's been fun. I'm enjoying learning the challenge of even myself with the UFOs. So I appreciate y'all continuing to let me work on that, and it's exciting. So, and I would like some encouragement.
Okay.
Y'all continue to find UFOs. Thank you.
The cycle, thank you, Sue. The cycle work goes through the end of June. That was we started it, I think.
January, it's every quarter, so the end of the
Okay.
quarter, June 30th. So by the July meeting, you better get to Sue right away, because she's tallying, and if you come after she's already tallied, it's got to go on the next month.
Okay. So, get them finished by the end of next month, and let her know by July. Okay, the color. This month, that's right, it is June, isn't it? The year is going too fast. The Color Wheel Challenge that we're having in November, I hope y'all read what Nora wrote, and like she said, you have something in mind to work off the color wheel. That's always a fun thing, so we can't wait to see it. I think now I get to come to them. I haven't been for years because of Facebook. All right, the Group Works replacement. Oh, I can't forget this one over here either. We finally heard from the gentleman. He wasn't answering Cindy, so I got on him. I'm a good squeaky wheel. And he did answer me, and he said if we are willing to step on the landmines of the issues they're still finding and help them test, he will get us up and live. I'm thinking maybe we might try with 10 people to start, to have you all sign in and see how it goes with you doing that and us uploading things, and if that seems to go fine, then we'll invite the rest of the guild on. The only thing they don't have set up is payments yet, but I would rather start learning the rest of the stuff first, and then we'll get to the payments, just like we did originally with Group Works. Took us a long time to get to that point. So we're working on it. Hopefully, in the next month or two, we'll be able to have everybody onto the new. For those of you that don't know, we used to have a thing called Group Works. It was a private Facebook. It was not public posting. Nobody saw it. We put our membership list and everything on there because nobody else could get into it but us. And that company just folded out of the blue. They said they couldn't afford to stay open anymore because they didn't charge anybody anything. That was why. So this man, his group had it, and they sort of decided that his company decided they were going to try to develop another version of it. So we've been waiting now for a year or more as they try to work things out and rewrite things 6 times, and this and that. So hopefully we're getting to the point now where there's one other group that's going on now. We can go on and we'll be their pioneers, as he called them. I think guinea pigs is the other word. Yeah, the beta. We're the beta testers.
Crash
So
test
hopefully
dummies.
that'll be coming up. So if you get an email, we'll let y'all know if we're going to start inviting people, so you know what to look for to sign up and go in and look at it. Okay, Carolyn wanted, did I remember right about the opportunity? I didn't remember right. Yes, I'm getting better at names. I just forget everything else.
Okay, for the opportunity quilt, I know we're off to a little bit of a late start. When I volunteered, I wasn't sure what I was volunteering for. So apologize for the late start on that, but we've got the ball rolling. We've decided we're going to do a stained glass quilt for the opportunity quilt this year. So we figured it might be kind of cool that everybody could even maybe use up some batiks kind of thing. So the plan is I will send out to the members, everybody in the guild, a PDF of the block, and then you guys can, and I'll send out specific instructions, and it will be a foundation paper piecing, so if you can print it, great. If you can't, then I'll print some and I can, drop it in the mail to you, kind of whatever. And then what we don't know what, but we're having the idea and thought, and as long as she approves, whichever guild members participate, kind of like your block of the month, you can win something. So whoever participates and makes a block, you would get a ticket and have an opportunity to win something. We don't know what yet, but at least to try and encourage some extra. So if you bring 3 blocks, you'll get 3 tickets, just like kind of, how they're doing the other stuff. So try and encourage some, and then, so we need somebody who knows a long armor potentially that would do it for us for less money or free, or even if we have to pay, especially if everybody's using their own boutiques, we might have a little bit more money in the budget. And then somebody who would like to bind the quilt potentially, somebody who, so we're looking for those people. So if anybody is interested or knows somebody who can help with any of that aspect, that would be great as well. And we will need the blocks hopefully by August meeting. So if you can get the blocks done by the August meeting, then that gives us time to put it together and get it quilted and bound and everything else. I'm going to work on that when I send out the email. We're looking probably to do a queen size quilt. So once I've already designed it in EQ8, but I wasn't sure what size to do it, so now I have to modify the dimensions to figure out how many blocks of the size. So more to come on that, Betty, but good question.
Usually we have like fabric, or we have, so
what colors, what are we using?
Well, with batiks, we were thinking it could be just, like a batik stained glass. So a lot of people have some batiks that you could use some of your scrappy batiks, but if not, we can have some batiks here, to pick up and use too. So it kind of,
How much
whatever.
do you need for a
What
block?
about the background?
Well, the background we'll get, yeah, but with the stained glass, you don't have a background per se, but we'll buy the backing, the guild will buy the backing. And then we'll buy the black strips to make it the stained glass, and that would be part of after the blocks are all done together, so.
So we're not going for a specific color, like blues and greens or?
No, just a
Black.
batik stained glass,
Okay.
and then with the black stained glass, it should, at least it looks really pretty on my EQA. Sure, stay away from black.
How much of a batik, if we wanted to donate some batik, what would be, like a back quarter is enough, or less, or strips, or?
Well, back quarters would be good because, it's not going to be like any real long, big piece of material with doing stained glass because it's going to be foundation paper piecing, probably no bigger than a 12 by 12 for the block size. That's kind of what because if we need to make it a little bigger to get it to the queen size, we could always put another border around the outside or something like that too. So it depends how many blocks we get from everybody. More to come once we get the final everything in, but I just wanted to at least put it out there for everybody.
Thank you.
So start looking at your scrap boxes and pulling the batiks out and putting them in a special spot, so you have them. Okay, we started a new thing where people wearing their name tag got a ticket, and we have a prize for them. Pat?
Did everybody get a ticket for wearing a name
I
tag?
did. It's okay. No,
You're
gonna need to pull from.
Yeah, but I have to have yellow Sorry about that. I knew there were a couple that were missing. Okay, so I had to improvise. I've got so many little bags at home, I don't know why I didn't bring one, but anyway. The ticket ends in 190. Oh, Leslie, couldn't have your nice person. I want to say that this gift was donated by Linda. She's cleaning out her sewing room. Thank you so much, everybody who cooperated. I hope everybody will participate next time.
It really helps those of us that have name issues, if you have a name on. Okay, just a reminder, it was in the newsletter, we have a mystery quilt workshop coming up in October. And that's one of the things we're going to be trying on this new site, is you being able to register for that. So we will not be putting anything out for registration for that yet, but Cindy has it all set, right? Okay,
October 18th,
right,
you'll get your fabric requirements in an email in the next week.
okay. Oh, so people have already registered.
No.
Oh, anybody can come.
Everybody will get the fabric requirements, so
Okay.
they can decide whether they want to come.
Okay, oh, okay, that makes it nicer. You can kind of think about that. They had a lot of fun last year making it, and the quilts were just gorgeous. Like, it's so nice to see how everybody looks so different, even though it's the same pattern. It's fun. Okay, we need someone, because Patty has asked, so we keep trying, and we need someone who will take over the hospitality position for her. I will put it in the newsletter. It entails helping set up the table, keeping the list of people who are bringing, she calls and reminds everybody the week before that you're supposed to bring this, and tells the newsletter lady who the people are, and then make sure we have refreshments there. Patty has been doing this for how many years? 6, 7, 8?
Probably.
Yes. It's time she got a break, because she has to come and set up and she can't socialize, and then she has to take down and she can't listen to the end of the meeting or anything. So somebody please consider if you'll continue this on, because everybody likes to have stuff to drink and eat, but somebody has to take care of it, and we really want Patty to have a break. She does other things now. Okay, gonna do another door prize, last door prize.
Give it to charity. Charity minute.
Okay, how about? I need a number from 148, not 30.
20.
Wait, I only 5 people telling me. Not 20. No, a number from 148, but not 20.
35.
Carolyn.
Oh, yay.
Okay, Sandy wants to say a little bit about charities, and then I have one more thing and then I'm done, okay?
Okay, I put it in the newsletter occasionally, but I've had new members ask what specific charities we donate to. So this year, and we've kind of worked towards this, you can get to the point where you're doing way too many and then it's hard to keep track of and nobody gets much anything. So our main charities are One Ohana, One Community, which is the organization that helps out foster families and families trying to get their children back, and they provide clothes and everything else. What they need right now, they do not need quilts, because mainly they distribute clothes, shoes, socks, things like that. But what they do need are pillowcases, because the pillowcases are used instead of a garbage bag when kids have to be grabbed and go to a new home or whatever. So a pillowcase is nice. They need boys' pillowcases. We tend to get a lot of girls' pillowcases in, but not for boys. So a few more boys' ones. They're good on blankets right now. They're good on burp cloths. They're good on bibs. They also need stuffies. So they don't want to take used stuffed animals, because then there's the germs and the dust and the dirt and all that. But they would love to have some like 6 to 8 inch stuffies. So they could just be like a turtle shape would be awesome, because that's their logo. So maybe make your floor turtle or your turtle block, except stuff it and make it into an actual stuffy. So a turtle, bear, anything, any animal shape. It doesn't have to be fancy. It could be kind of like our pillows are for the ladies for cancer, even heart-shaped and stuff. It's just something that a small child can hold on to and hold close to them when they're in a very, very scary situation. And choose like 6 to 8 inches, not too big, not too tiny. So that would be awesome. So we need stuffies and boys' pillowcases right now. The other places that we donate to are Advent Hospital. Leslie's there regularly. She volunteers, and we've given both kids and adult quilts to them. Charlene's Dream, we make the heart-shaped pillows for the women with cancer. We just make the outside, they stuff them themselves as part of their get-together and work on it together. Right now I have 21 that will go to them, so thank you all for that. Sue Martin does the fidget quilt, which is amazing, and we make a lot during AQS, but she makes them all year round, and those go to local nursing homes and kids with autism and lots of different places, and she would know more where that goes. We do honor quilts, Quilts of Valor, which Sue, and honor quilts, which Sue is also involved in. And the foster quilts for Children's Protective Services, not just through One Ohana, but actually through Child Protective Services. So we have the foster B, I don't know how active you guys are at this moment. They make quilts that are large enough for kids that are aging out of the foster system. So like twin-size quilts, large laps, but they said they could also use small quilts for
What's the
kids.
difference between an honor quilt and quilts of valor?
Volusia County Courts has a veterans court where veterans who have gotten into trouble and the prosecutor and their attorney feel they would do better being treated by the VA than sitting in a jail cell. They need treatment, not incarceration. They plead guilty, they're put on probation with requirements of report to the VA, do whatever they say, report to us. As soon as they complete all their requirements, they graduate from the program and they are given a quilt, a challenge coin, and a salute by all the fellow veterans in the court. And that is something that's actually done through the justice system of Volusia County.
Okay, and one last thing. Oh, and then Quilts of Valor is for servicemen and women who have served and maybe are still serving. And that is a particular Quilts of Valor, and again, Sue is very involved with that. And that's, we make them for them to distribute. And they also make their own. There's a big organization. Questions?
Yeah, so like on the pillowcases, is there a certain way? Do you guys use a certain pattern? Can you attach it to the newsletter? Can you put all this
I
information?
have the million pillowcase pattern that one of the fabric companies put out, and
It's awesome.
we can attach that as the burrito method.
The burrito method is the best. Yeah, it's
I
easy.
have a big one.
If you,
It's really easy.
if you search hot dog pillow, it sounds weird, but hot dog pillowcase on YouTube, it's
Yeah.
the same thing, but there's like a, yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. It's just your basic standard pillowcase size. So, because it works as both the, thick or stuff. Another organization that Molly, when she was here last time, she isn't here now, she suggested that we consider making baby quilts for, sadly, the parents that go into the hospital to have a baby and leave without one, which is horrible, as you can well imagine. So there's an organization, I don't know the name, I didn't get all the information from Molly. One of our quilters has already made one, thank you. And basically it's, oh, okay, so if you want to talk about it, it's basically a very small, so that the mother or the father, they get to take something home, that yes, this child did exist, and that I just want to cry thinking about it. But anyways, it only has to be very small, 24 by 24, just something that's a keepsake. And from what she told me, sometimes they end up in the coffin. Sometimes they keep them as a keepsake. And we would put our Racing Fingers thing on here, that Made with Love by Racing Fingers, and also that particular organization, once we got to them, they put theirs on there as well. But it's something for those parents to take home, which I can't even imagine. So there you go. And do you know the name of it? Who said they know about that?
So what's the name of that one?
There's two organizations. Two of them are Project Warm, which is women that are incarcerated that have to have their babies in jail, and then they're taken out. And then there's one that's called Neighbor to Family, which is right off Mason Avenue.
Yeah, that's different.
But there's a couple.
Okay, so yeah, so that's a little bit different, I think, than what we're talking about here. Because this is actually for babies that were stillborn or didn't make it through. Yeah.
It's the same little.
Yeah, so the
But-
concept, they can't bring their babies home for whatever reason,
Yes.
and they get something. So that sounds good as well. But anyways, if anyone's interested in making tiny quilts, and you give them to me, I will make sure they get to someone who would appreciate it. So, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The quilts that we all make, Sandy
Oh, yeah.
disperses a lot of them and keeps track of, everything that we make, donate every year and where they go to. So at the end, she can give us reports now and then, and at the end of the year, we ask her to give us one to show what we've done.
So if anybody makes anything, like I know a lot of you makes these wonderful things for me, the blue bag back there, I'd love for you to show it for show and tell, but if you're giving it to me to give away, put it in the blue IKEA bag, and then I take them home, I sort them, I figure out who goes where, and then I keep track of it. And if you give away stuff as a Racing Fingers Quilt Guild member, feel free to give it to somebody you know needs it, whether it's your church or whatever, just let me know so that I could write down on our list that so many went to a nursing home or, autistic kids or whatever. So,
Right.
awesome, thank you, because we need to keep track of that for
We
our
do have,
staff.
on things that we make that are guild projects, we do have a tag, Made with Love by Racing Fingers Quilt Guild. I know Quilts of Valor is probably the only one that doesn't want that on there. Because they have their own specific way they like things labeled, which is fine. But otherwise, if you're doing something for charity, ask, because we do have labels we can give you to put on your quilts that you make. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, Pat has one piece of trivia.
This is just a piece of trivia. I was just going through the donations, and I don't know whether anybody else has had this book, but I can tell you right now, this book was practically my Bible. I think I made at least three quilts from it. So I highly recommend it if you're new, especially if you're new to quilting.
You're way to light up my bookshelf. Two bookshelves. Okay, we are ready to have our program. Jean Roth, I don't know if you all, Nanette, are you going to introduce Jean? Sure. Oh. Very good. I just sit down, okay?
Sure, I can embarrass you. Go for it.
Well, we have a very special guild member here. I don't know, how many years have you been a guild member? Late 80s, so quite a while. And we know how prolific she is and what a beautiful quilter she is. But the best parts of Jean is her generosity, her love for other people, and her ability to share her knowledge with us. And she just takes so much time and love with each person, and we appreciate you, Jean. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'm really pleased to be able to share a lot about stack and whack because it's one of my favorite techniques. And I guess I looked at my very first stack and whack quilt, the back of it, the label, to see how many years I've been doing stack and whack. And my very first one was done in 2011. So since then I've done about 10. I haven't finished, 10 tops. I haven't finished all of the quilts yet, unfortunately, but I hope to, especially these two, I hope to add them to my finish list sometime soon. How many of you have done stack and whack? Oh, good. We have a lot of people that have. Tonight I really hope to give you a lot of ideas, and show how versatile this technique is. And it's a lot easier than fussy cutting to get this kaleidoscope effect. Fussy cutting makes beautiful things, but it is a little bit time consuming. All of you who have done English paper piecing and fussy cutted a lot of the pieces for Tula Pink's big center for her quilts know how time-consuming fussy cutting is. And you can get beautiful effects by doing the stack and whack as well. This technique was started about 1997 by Bethany Reynolds. And since then, there have been a lot of people that have kind of picked up on the technique, developed books or created books and called their technique a little bit different than stack and whack, but it's very similar. Paula Needlestern does absolutely stunning quilts, but hers are all precision fussy cutting. And these are done a lot easier. I can't say that you make quilts faster with them, because we all know that it takes quite a while to make quilts, no matter what, but you do get a nice kaleidoscope effect. I've always been mesmerized by kaleidoscopes, the toy kaleidoscopes. They've always intrigued me, and that's why this kind of appealed to me from the start. So there's a couple of books there on the screen that Bethany has done. Well, she didn't do the One Block Wonder, but that's a takeoff on the stack and whack technique that has been recently developed and used by a lot of people. So we can go to the next So this is my very first stack and wet quilt, and I didn't know how clear it would be. This quilt actually is in the collection of Alice and Annan. This was my first stack and wet quilt. And I thought maybe I would make another one like it. And that's why I donated it to the YMCA, and that's where Allison got it. I thought I'd make another one exactly like it, but I never did. I saved the fabric.
I bought it without seeing it. It was on a table, and it was folded up, and it had Jean's name on it.
Oh, didn't
And
know.
I won't tell you what I paid for it. But I bought it and did not open it up until I got home. And it was on my wall within 10 minutes.
And I was always a little upset with the YMCA because I said, if I donate this quilt, I would like you to open it up and hang it. They did not do that. So that was the last quilt that they ever received from me. So the second wet technique, my sister introduced me to this. Now I taught her how, I had a twin sister. I taught her how to quilt years ago, and then she introduced me to this technique. So we were in Zinks. Does anybody know where Zinks is in Ohio, in Charm, Ohio? It's an Amish country, and I always visit there when I go to visit her in Akron area. So we're in Zinks, and she had a bolt of this fabric, and the fabric did not appeal to me. I looked at it and I said, that is so ugly, what are you going to do with that? And she says, you'll see. So and the fabric was $1.80 a yard. So we took it home. We actually went to my mom's house and she started cutting it up, and I said, oh my goodness, give me the phone. I called Zinks and I bought 2 bolts. I've used it for backs, and then it's sort of been in the sideline, and you'll all benefit from that purchase tonight, those of you that want to try to do some work with some blocks. But here's my partner in crime, my sister. We were having a moment of levity one day because I was in Ohio, and she melted her remote with her Olissa iron. And we laughed so hard. We were just so punchy anyway. We were working on a quilt, and we were making so many mistakes, and then finally she did this, and it just sort of ended the afternoon. Okay, so the next one is a little better picture of her. Now, she had this quilt in our show 2 years ago, and she does fussy cutting, and she likes to do English paper piecing. So she fussy cuts all these hexagons, and she likes English paper piecing. That's one thing I have decided I don't enjoy too much. So this quilt was in our show, and then she was in the calendar, the Paducah calendar for 2024. And so we went to Paducah last year, well, 2025.
And
So
that's the engagement.
the engagement calendar, yeah. And so we were in Paducah last year, and she was in a signing room. It was fun. Okay, so some other ideas. We'll just kind of go through some of these, and then I'll show some up here that I have. But you can get a real kaleidoscope look with this technique. I'll keep going here, Aurora. I did this quilt, and so you can set them in rows. They don't have to be done in blocks. You can do your cutting. Basically, you're just layering fabrics and lining up the motifs. So we'll talk more about that later, and getting identical designs to spin around. Okay, so this one I was going to show because I don't know who has this quilt. I wish I donated this too. I didn't like it so much because a lot of success of this technique depends on your fabric selection, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But this fabric that I used, if we go to the next one, oh no, that's not the one, but the fabric on that previous quilt was a little bit ditzy. It was, the quilt blocks ended up looking like the fabric to me, so I really didn't enjoy it that much. Now that I look at it, I appreciate it a little bit more now that I see it on the screen. But this was one of my first actually kaleidoscope quilts, also an early one. And I actually miscut this one. You see it's supposed to be evenly rounded on those blocks. It's kind of jaggedy. Somebody ended up buying it for quite a good price at a church event. So she still has this quilt, though I know I talk to her about it every now and then. So you can do seasonal projects with it, okay? And now this technique here is just done with a 4-patch.
Around the edges of the
This one is another one that Diane did this. That's a
Nobody would believe it.
What that is just one square, well, it's 4 layers, and it's one square, and you just kind of twirl the patches to get a look.
I love how you use that around the border, the original fabric.
And that is one thing, that's very oftentimes the fabric that isn't cut up is used for a border. So that's one of Bethany Reynolds' recommendations. So, and then, okay, now, when we're gonna use this and do I'm gonna offer some of these blocks to people that might want to make some for the block of the month. And when I did the plan for that block of the month, I decided rather than just to cut the fabric squares in half horizontally and diagonally, vertically and horizontally, I did it corner to corner, so you get a little bit better of a design. And on this quilt, the small blocks, some of these, I guess not. I guess no, that's not right. I cut them all corner to corner on there, so that's kind of a little sampler idea. But so go back to that one, Laura. So you can see the original fabric for Allison's quilt and another quilt that I'm going to show, or actually Kim and Michelle, would you hold this? So you can see how different the same fabric, and to me it still is ugly fabric, or let's just call it unattractive.
So you finished that Saturday? Wow.
So I just put it together. I had the blocks done. Saturday at a sit and sew, I had the blocks separated, so I put it together. But you can see,
I like the blue, it's perfect.
you can see how different Allison's quilt looks from the stars cut here. This is cut with a Lemoyne star with diamonds, and Allison's quilt was cut in segments that were an octagon, 8 layers. So, actually, he does like the border now. At first, he didn't like this border. I'm trying to sew up my stash. So I had the orange, and I was talking to Sue about what I was going to use, and she was offering some ideas, and then I went home and I said, oh, I like the one I have. And then the border I had in my stash. Bob sort of liked the orange around the border, but I didn't have enough of that, so I used that, and I'm happy with it. I think once it gets quilted, that's going to be nice when it's all quilted.
Yeah.
So we're going to be playing with some of these blocks. I'm going to offer you all that are interested some of these squares to work with for block of the month, and we'll talk about that at the very end. So here's some more ideas showing how they can be set, sashed, many are sashed, And, you know, you can start with fabric that really appeals to you, fabric that you love, and you can get an idea of a look like this. I saw Missouri Star did a beautiful kaleidoscope, and you might want to check some of these YouTube videos. I think she did it with panels, 8 panels. And I know Nanette did one with panels as well.
And Joe.
Okay, so if you use, how many panels did you use, Nanette?
I used 8.
Okay, so you can do it with 8 panels, and then we have Debbie's quilt, and she did a panel. Debbie did a stack and whack with hexagons added, isn't that cute? So we have lots of possibilities, lots of ideas.
Debbie West.
Debbie's
Very
prolific.
nice.
And we have another possibility for sashing on the screen. There's just so many ways that you can this was following a pattern. After a while, you could just sort of get dangerous. I mean, just trying to do your own design. Okay, so so fabric selection is a big part of success in this quilt technique. But before we talk about that, let's just show the rest of these examples up here. Lots of the patterns are stars. A lot of different kinds of stars.
Oh my gosh.
And with fabric selection, lots of times it's recommended that you start with a design in your fabric that is medium to large in shapes. And I bought this fabric about 4 years ago, exactly for the purpose of doing a stack and whack.
So how much fabric did you get?
I bought not enough. I think I only had about 5 yards. And it would be, on a big, bold design, oftentimes you need at least 6, sometimes 7.
Do you buy the yard or buy the repeat?
Well, I didn't know what I was going to do with it, so I just bought, 6 yards of it. And it wasn't quite enough. But lots of times you do use some in the border.
Very cool.
So did you quilt this on your domestic or your mid-on?
I just finished this quilt about a couple of weeks ago because my daughter had surgery in Chicago, and so I had to go help her. I had to take a project with me. So I took that fabric with me and put it together. I quilted it on my sit-down.
Wow.
But you,
That's all from the same piece of fabric?
yes. And I wished I had had a little bit more.
This woman makes me feel like
And this fabric was all in my stash. That's what makes me feel good about it, too.
Yeah.
Sit down. So Debbie was nice enough to bring this in too. Now this is another technique. This, she used the back of we'll show her the back of the fabric. This was something in her sister's stash that she inherited. And lots of times the fabric is not appealing that you use for this technique. And we'll talk about it. But fans, a lot of patterns with stack and whack show a finished design with fans. This is quite typical.
And that was the same as the back?
That was the back fabric. I know.
Yeah.
It looks like that graffiti one. Looks so well together.
This one was done quite a while ago too, sort of in my early stack and whack. It's a small one, but it's a wall hanging that I enjoy. And so these are hexagons that are set to look like stars. That's a pretty common pattern. If you look on Pinterest, you see all kinds of ideas. I'm trying to show some possibilities here. This was gorgeous. Debbie Morse brought this.
Wow.
This was a border fabric, right?
Yes.
You want to tell us about it?
Well, it's Faith in the Enter in the beginning, and it's a border fabric that makes the kaleidoscopes.
Did you make that, Debbie?
Yes.
Nice.
And that's, you just finished this about a year ago, didn't you?
I bought it before I left North Carolina, so it took me 5 years.
So it's quite lovely fabric, beautiful.
And I had so much fabric left over that I finished this at a retreat, and some ladies were admiring it, so I just gave them all the extra. I said, here, I'm not going to make another one.
Well, that's why I cut up a little bit of fabric for y'all, because I think I'm tired. I'm tired of this. Although I do have, honestly, I have another quilt cut out of it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably not going to do that for quite a while. This is an example, too, of one that was very attractive fabric. It wasn't ugly fabric at all. It was...
Whoa, dude, the two are off. Okay, there we go.
No, it's a king. I usually try to do queen or king size. I've got big people in my family. So again, this one is fabric that was quite appealing. It wasn't ugly fabric. So sashed, and I guess this was set on point.
Did you put that too?
It can go in my car.
What would you do? When you do that?
That was on my first. I think this was one of my first. I don't remember. I think I did this on my sit-down. No, it might have been my first one I did on the sit-down.
Well, because a lot of persons did,
So for fabric selection, here are some tips for fabric selection that we could read through. Medium to large designs are quite effective. And with a variety of shapes. And fabric that has a little bit of movement to it is also recommended. Of leaves or flowers, something with some movement. A variety of color, although I have seen some successful ones done with just like a red and white, with interesting designs, but a little bit of variety of that. Avoid fabrics with a lot of background because that does not turn out to be an effective block. You just end up seeing too much background. And if you have something that has a lot of repetitive little shapes, it ends up not really too impressive when it's finished like that. The fabric, I'm going to show the fabric that I made the one star quilt with on the next slide. Let's see, and I guess it's not the next slide. Maybe go to the next one. Okay, so here we have a few fabric choices, and the one in the upper left has so much movement. It's a peach color background. It looks pink there. And I'm tempted to do it, but it might, I don't know if it has enough color variety to it. I think if I wanted a quilt that was just peach and gray though, I think it might turn out to be quite lovely. I might go for it someday. The one next to it has too much background to be effective. And then the one next to that has too many cowboys, little cowboys and horses that look the same. So that wouldn't be lovely either. I'm not sure about that other one next to it, but the one on the far right is the one I used for those original stars. And it reminds me of China. I love English China, so I think that's why I bought that fabric. And then in the stars, it wasn't too impressive, but now I like the looks of the quilt. I wish I knew who had it. Down in the bottom left, we see a little bit of a very small print, which it has a lot of variety of design and color, and it would be nice. The blocks would need to be quite small, and I think the repeat on that, we'll talk about repeats in a minute, was maybe 4 inches or 5 inches at the most. So it really would need small blocks. And then stripes. Stripes would turn out nicely, but they would be a little bit of a challenge to be matching stripes, especially stripes that are that little. So I don't think I want to do that. I mean, we could match them, but it would take a little bit of work. And then the others are quite good, and the one on the far right is, I wish I had more of that. I don't even remember where I bought it, but that would make a really interesting quilt. It has no background, lots of color, lots of variety. It would be a really interesting. Cindy, you have some?
No, I don't have any of that. But do you know about the mirror trick for choosing?
Okay, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have some of that. Similar.
You do?
I think I've seen it in
Cindy,
Mount
let me go to the next slide. Let's see. Cindy just recommended the mirrors. No, this one is, let's pass this one by, look for my mirrors. Nope, that's not it. There we go. So Cindy was suggesting mirrors, and I brought the mirrors with me. If you put a couple of mirrors together and run it over your design, you can kind of get a feel for, you know, what your blocks might look like. And you can even open it up to see 8 layers, 8 pieces, or 4 if you're going to do just 4 layers, or 6 if you're going to do a hexagon. So it's very helpful. Mine are kind of small, but they do work, you know. And some people clip together, and some people, and then sometimes you can take them apart, and if you want to have a certain degree for the, let's say for the 8, for an octagon, you can put a piece of tape, tape them in the way that you're going to be making your blocks. So when we look now at how much we need to buy, if you're not sure, if you love a design and the fabric has pretty big motifs and designs on it, I would certainly get at least 6 yards, maybe 7 yards. So in order to, that's what Bethany Reynolds would recommend anyway. For one thing, 6 yards. It depends on the number of layers you're going to cut. So we're going to cut 4 layers for a square, 6 layers for a hexagon pattern, and 8 for an octagon, or how many you might wedges, and you can cut wedges also for your fans. And these 2 large quilts on the racks have 12 cuts. And there are patterns for that might alternate some of, if you're doing 12, they cut 2 different colors of fabric and use them for dress and plate designs sometimes. This resembles a Dresden, but Bethany Reynolds has some Dresden designs in her pattern books. So it depends on the length, and here's a cutting chart let's go back to the other one for just a minute. In order to decide to buy your correct amount of fabric, you need to eyeball and find the repeat length of your design. So you've got to, they can run from 6 inches to 27 inches. And so if you have a design that has a repeat of 27 inches, you need quite a bit of fabric. Now, Bethany Reynolds always recommends cutting your fabric in half lengthwise. And so that's why she would have leftover fabric to use on your borders. Now, on some of my quilts, I just decided to not use that method, but when I didn't have quite enough fabric, I would cut them lengthwise, but use both sides of the material. You can't fold it in half, although I saw somebody do it on one of the One Block Wonders, Rob, what's his name? Yeah, Rob Appel folded the fabric in half and did six layers. He actually had 12 layers when he folded them in half. Now, you can't do that on most fabrics because the motif is printed different on one side than it is on the other. I don't know how he got fabric that was exactly the same running all the way through. But you usually have to cut it down the middle. It's too awkward to use 42 inches to prepare the fabric and get it ready for cutting into your squares and wedges if you're using that whole piece. So sometimes I would, not get 6 yards. I might get, 4 yards or 3.5 yards and use both sides, but not at the same time. Use one side, cut it into your strips and your pieces, and then go ahead and do it with the other. So you're buying your fabric based on the number of repeats and the length of your repeats. And here is a cutting chart. This actually was the cutting chart for Allison's quilt, the checkerboard squares they call it. So in her book, she's very good at giving a plan for how to cut. And that's what her plans look like. So fabric preparation, you don't want to pre-wash your fabrics because that can distort your motifs, wiggle them around, and then you'll have a harder time lining them up. Starching is recommended. First you iron out the wrinkles really good. Using starch is a good idea. I'm not a starcher. Now on this last star quilt, one of them, I wish I had starched. You have so many bias edges to work with, and they can get cattywampus real quickly. So I might try, it's just such a big job to starch, I think. So I always, I've got that, but I just usually skip that step. I like the feel of the fabric and being able to ease it. Oh my gosh, how did that sneak in? This is the newest member of my family. And she was born about 5 weeks ago. Her picture is on my quilt that I gave her. This is Haven. And she has the longest legs of any baby I've ever seen. That's why I make big quilts, because my family's long. Yeah, that's Haven. Okay.
Get back to Haven.
What?
Get back to Haven.
So stacking. So our next step is to do the stacking and the pinning. After we have our repeats, we want to find our first repeat and cut it. Cut your first layer. And then sometimes those colored dots on the side. Oh yes, these colored dots on the side of your fabric help with indicating the repeat. The repeat on this fabric was like this much. So about 20 inches. The repeat. And you cut your first repeat and then use that, use that and put it on top of your fabric and cut your next one. So you start somewhere, and that's where you start with your cutting. Repeats, repeat, repeat. So if you need 6 layers, you cut 6. And once in a while, the pattern will tell you if you have, let's say your repeat is only 9 inches, it might say use 2 repeats per layer. So that's sometimes something you do. So next step is to, there we go. You can go back to that, let's see. All right, let's get those. So we've got our first repeat there cut, and then we proceed to cut all the others just like it. And then after cutting, move to the next slide maybe, let's see. Okay, you have to have these long flat pins. Otherwise, you can't put your rulers down on top of the bumpy pins and cut correctly. Okay, let's go to the next step. So here we are pinning. The next step would be to find a spot on your fabric and put your first pin in on the top layer, and then you're lifting your layers and pinning down through each layer in the exact same spot. And it's recommended that you start on the right-hand side and pin down all one side. Don't pin across the top, pin down one side, lift your layers, and pin towards you as you're working. So you've got all your layers pinned, showing them there, and you can't see the pins that well. But when you're pinning, your pins are straight down, and you smooth your fabrics around the pin, and then pin horizontally with the edge of your cut edge. Because you wiggle that pin, I actually take another pin and put it in. And so you might pin every 6 inches. Some people pin 4 inches. They're very careful. So you get all these pins in, flat pins, and you pick your whole unit up of 4, 6, or 8, or 12 layers and shake it, put it down, smooth it, and iron it. And so all your motifs then line up really well for the next step, which is to start cutting. So with cutting, usually you need to have at least one long ruler, and then and then a shorter ruler. And those need to have, especially both of them. It's beneficial if they have the 45 degree or 60 degree, because that's what you're cutting is shapes with those measurements. And you can use specialty rulers also. I have them and I don't use them. I still use the long ruler and the short ruler to cut with. I'll go back there though once more. There's a wedge ruler. That's a 9 degree. And I think I was at my sister's and she cut one of those and I did. We cut them out of 12 layers. I don't know what size ruler we used for that, but it was a wedge ruler of some kind. Okay. So then we're cutting our blocks. We're going to trim across the top and down the sides, and then you're just following your pattern to cut the width of your strips that you need. And once you cut the first strip, you might cut it 3 inches for your first cut. You're cutting the strip, and then you're going to cut that into different pieces. So once you cut your first strip, and you're ready to cut another strip, you want to make sure that you're on the edge, your motifs line up. So you might have to do a little bit of repinning. Usually you don't, but you might have to use a very sharp rotary cutter so you're not distorting those edges at all. That's really important. And so we've got our first strip cut there. And then you're moving, and then once you cut your second strip, you want to make sure that it doesn't look exactly like your first strip. If that happens, all your blocks are going to look alike. So if the second strip is gonna look like the first strip. You wanna maybe cut a 1/2 inch off of it, or an inch, and then cut your next strip so that your blocks look different. And once you cut, didn't show it here. These are the pieces I have cut for my next stack of whack. I don't know if I'll get to it, but I have them cut. So you're cutting diamonds. You might cut triangles. Actually, sometimes a pattern for this takes this diamond and cuts it into a triangle. In this case, I'm using it as a diamond here. And you take your blocks and you want to audition your background fabric. You have to have a couple blocks to audition your background, because you might look at something. I looked at those on my fabrics and I didn't like white. It was just too much contrast, and so I came up with the orange on that one star quilt. I liked it a lot better. So you audition some different backgrounds before you go ahead and cut all those other pieces and put it together. And this is what I thought that quilt might look like, but I don't know, maybe not. We saw that one already.
I didn't put them in there.
Oh my goodness. Wow, there she is. This is my first great-grandchild. She's 7 months now. She was born in September. That's Lady. She was sampling. I make pancakes that the family likes, so she was already sampling my pancakes. Okay. All right, so our One Black Wonder. Now, when you do the One Black Wonder, I've never made one, but you do make them into either hexagons, which this is, or octagons, and you end up stitching those. You don't stitch your blocks all together. You do them in rows. So you can see that those rows. Now, when you do the hexagons, you don't need a center part, but when you have an octagon, you have to put an extra piece in the center of them. I don't have an example of that. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, a little bit of stitching. The most important thing for stitching is to maintain that 1/4 inch. And especially, even at the tails. I use a stiletto to help keep those seams exactly a 1/4 inch. And of course, I like to stitch from the center to the outside edge. I've seen people, I think the gal on Jordan Fabrics does it just the opposite. This is where you're gonna do things the way you like to, but I prefer to press my seams open. I think once we did the Alaskan quilt, I started pressing seams open and found that I got a much flatter block. And so with these now, I'm pressing them open. Some people press them all around and spin the seams, but I'm at this stage where I like to press them open. So finger pressing is the way to go. You don't want to put your blocks until they're all background stitched on them and they're stabilized to iron them, because that will really distort them. So finger pressing is the way to go, and if you finger press, it really helps for that stage of using the iron. Your seams are already partially ready for you to apply the heat with the iron. Trimming the dog ears in some cases, especially at the center, is very important so that you don't have such a lot of bulk to deal with. Okay, and when it comes to matching your seams right at the center, I prefer to put the pieces together and just roll back the top layer and make sure those seams are matching up, and then I'll put a pin in the top and take it to my machine and hand guide the hand guide the needle down to go in that exact same spot. Now, it's not easy. It takes a little bit of patience there. It would be helpful to have an open-toed foot, but I usually don't do that, but that might be beneficial. To put the machine needle on the exact same spot where the needle is that you've pinned in and you're holding it as straight up as possible. And then I'll stitch from that point to the outside edge and open it up and check and see if I like the way they match up. And if I do, I'll go and stitch it the other direction. And I have the most success doing it that way. Other people will put that pin in and then put 2 more pins on either side of that center. And I found I don't have as much success because but if you baste it, machine baste it with the longer stitch there and then open it up and look, that's another way that some people like to do it. Okay. So that brings us to our block of the month for this month. And I know some of you printed off the little paper that Mindy was nice enough to design and put together. First of all, before we get to that, does anybody have any questions on the stack and whack technique? Yes?
Which quilt will you be giving me?
I was going to ask the same thing. Can I have that?
I want to talk about these quilts in just a minute.
I have one question.
Yes.
If you're cutting 12 pieces of fabric, can you do 4, 4, and 4? No, it has to be all 12 at once.
And it does work
Okay.
with a very sharp, and you have to use the large rotary cutter for that, not the 45. You need the bigger one, the 60. Yes. Yes, it works. I mean, I did it here. Now, in this one, I might have cut 6 and 6. I did something weird on this, and it's not exactly. It looks the same, but they're not exactly the same. I don't know if I reversed something I did to make it look like this, but it wasn't actually 12 layers. I somehow fussy cut it 6 of them. I don't know. It was done quite a while ago. Let me talk about this quilt for just a minute. It's kind of grew into a monster. Again, I was at my sister's when we were doing these. She had this fabric in her stash, and I had taken that. I guess I bought this at Sinks, and I had it. So while we were working together, I thought, oh, after we did this one, I said, oh, let me cut another one. It was so much fun, you know. So then I started figuring out, I put it in the center of that dark fabric, and then I was trying to figure out, this is original, as you can probably tell, because it wasn't planned, but then I thought, oh, I'll copy the circle and add some circles around it. So it is just growing. And then it's sort of a sampler because it's got the 4 patches around the edge, and I think I used up all the fabric that way, and then framed them out. And then I put Lemoyne stars in the corner because I had a little bit of extra fabric. I didn't have enough border fabric, that's what it was. Didn't have enough border fabric, so I stuck those stars there. And actually, some of the star is needing to be appliqued in the bottom right corners or on the corners that touch the inside of the quilt. Those are just pinned. They're going to be appliqued there. So that, I don't know what to do with that one. But this quilt, I definitely am going to finish. Now, this has a story to it because I bought, of course, my sister had we were going to do a twin challenge. Well, she finished hers a long time ago and gave it away to one of her kids. So I've not actually finished mine. So it has grown too, little by little. The blue squares around the outside at one time were white. And I wanted to have some white in this quilt. By golly, I just found a way to applique some white in the center of that red block. And then I made those other blocks white in the background. And I put it up on the design board, and I couldn't sleep that night because it was so ugly. So I spent 2 days taking apart all those little squares and replaced it with blue. And then the fabric on the outside edge has a big story because I bought that fabric in 1965. I've always liked the French, look. So I bought this fabric at a textile mill yeah, someplace in Virginia, when my husband was in training, and when we lived in Washington DC for a while. So I bought that fabric, and in 1969 we moved here. We had a gate leg table, and it was a tablecloth. I used it for a tablecloth. And then we got a different dining room table, and I didn't need the tablecloth. And in 1972, I had my last child, and we couldn't go home for Christmas. So I thought, oh, I'll make a nice big Christmas robe. So it was a robe when I was pregnant. And then I kept the fabric rolled up on my, shelf for so long. And then I decided to incorporate it into this quilt. And around the edge, it's all, I have a little bit of it left. So I've used up, I hand appliqued the border, the outside border. And it's just going to get finished. I'm going to quilt that someday. But it's got such memories because of the fabric in there. Yes. But it hasn't spoken to me about how to quilt that center yet. I just don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't want to do it in a grid. Oh yeah, I didn't finish those yet. I have a few little... Yeah, I hand embroidered around some of those flowers, Didn't have anything to do, so it needs a little bit of flowers on the inside. There are some that aren't actually, some are just pinned there. And the antennas on the butterflies, they look a little small. I don't know. Michelle might have to give me advice on those butterflies. Are those butterfly centers big enough? I have to put the antennas on those. So
You
it's
want a
not.
drawing of one of us could be your child.
Fortunately, my kids do like my quilts, but I don't know if they're who's going to want that one.
I will. We'll take it. Can we get back to my original question?
Yes. Okay, so our blog of the month. Here's the thing. I have let's see, we go to that. Yes. So I know I tried to make that bigger today so that people could read it. But everybody has a copy of this on the computer, that PDF. So I have some blocks that are cut, 4 layers. And if you want to participate, Kim can go around and bring this basket. I don't think I have enough for everybody, but I would have enough if we've run out for you to share with somebody to do 2 and 2. Well, you can't do that. They have to be cut 4. No, you can't do that. So I have blocks cut, 4 layers. And you would have to take the block and pin the motifs so they line up exactly, because these have been jostled around and they're not matching. And then you will cut them corner to corner and then play around a little bit with the kaleidoscope design that you would like, because there'll be some options there when you have those cut edges. And then Mindy went ahead and made a plan for using those. They have to be trimmed to 6 inches. Now this is a 7-inch, I think 7 inches, and then once you cut it and stitch it together, it'll be it'll be about 6.5 inches. And then you have, I cut them 7.5, okay. 7.5, and then when you cut them corner to corner, you'll end up with maybe a 6.5, and then cut them down to a 6-inch block. And then Mindy has figured out how to frame them, so that if you want to, she's framing just 2 sides. So the plan that you came up with is what you see up there. The person that wins the blocks can do this kind of a design.
Just leave them 6.5 and the person who wins them can trim them down?
No, you're going to trim them down to 6 inches and then put the white, add the white on one side, so that they'll be finished and ready to put into a block. So that's what the directions on the PDF tell you to do.
So the finished
So Now, I don't think I have enough for everybody, and I'm not thinking everybody's going to want to do it. But I do have some that are smaller, if you really want a challenge.
You know who you're talking to.
The smaller ones will not finish at 6 inches. And I haven't figured out what they will be, but there are some that are a little bit smaller. And actually, these could maybe be done just in, cut them horizontally and vertically, and just do them like a regular 4 patch, instead of cutting them diagonally, corner to corner. Okay? Is that clear as mud? Betty's going to bring the smaller ones around. So if you want.
Two sides.
Then I have some smaller ones that actually happen, but something might want to know.
Instructions would say, you should put down. After you figure at 2,
Okay, if you're really brave. Put them together. Yeah, practice.
You gotta find your exact.
I also have a few
Exactly where it is
pieces.
before you cut it. Yeah, before you cut it. Exactly.
No, you're gonna make 4 blocks. You're gonna make 4 blocks when you have the 7.5 inch and cut them corner to corner.
So we had, I had some fabric on those pieces once, but
Ladies, got some already. You got some already? All you gotta do is sew it. Anybody wants one? A square. Hi, Betty.
you know, if you guys know what, you're gonna, no, because you're gonna sew it together, it's a big block. Yeah. Right, yes, right,
That makes some small blocks.
never would have thought to use it. I used to use scrunch quite a bit. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I never We went in the sideway, and we went, they were putting, the day we went, they were putting stones down in her driveway, and we so the truck was there, and we had to go, we had to park on the road, and walk all the way down the line, and she got
Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
and Meg wasn't there.
thank you, Jean, very much. I think I understand it a little more, but I darn one yet. But maybe this one where it's corner to corner, or something like an angle. Okay, one other thing, we just got a message from Kendra Wiggins. We have not seen her lately. Her mom is in hospice in Kentucky and not doing well, so if you'd all keep that family in your prayers. Who's this? Kendra Wiggins. Kendra Wiggins' mom is in hospice, and they don't expect her to live that long, so she wanted everybody to know, send prayers to keep everybody safe and comfortable. Okay, we're ready to do show and tell. I would say, now, we're trying not to let people walk down there because of cords. I think we need to line up here. Now, if you will please use the microphone and tell us who you are, because we're all trying to learn everybody's names and faces. And maybe someone else will hold your quilt up for you while you're talking. So Lynn can get pictures. And whoever is behind Lynn, move her stuff up in line.
So why don't you let Lynn go first and then...
Yeah, that's a good idea. Come on, Lynn, you go first.
Lynn's gonna go first so she can take pictures.
One quick announcement. If you brought stuff for the free table that did not get picked up by anybody, please take it with you. We just got a fabric donation and we have to put away some stuff for,
If there's any fatigues that you find, they'll save them for the opportunity quilt.
Right. we just have, and we have to put fidget stuff in here, and our closets are already full. I'm not sure where I'm even putting what I have to put in, so.
So I take that handy book and find.
Okay, I have some community service quilts. Most of them were done in coordination with Sophie did the tops, I did quilting, and Sue Mitchell did the binding. But she did this one by herself, and I think it's from one of our blocking months.
Go. Nice smile. Got it.
That's in the back, the back is fine.
Oh, that's great. Sure.
The bear.
Another one.
You guys are very prolific. I appreciate that. Got it?
Should have saved this for Christmas, right? But this one came to me for Christmas stuff, so.
Well, I love how they use the AccuQuilt things on that. Okay, oh, that's cute. There we go. Wait, let me show them. There we go. Good. Got it.
Sometimes the tops come there without backing, so I get to use my own backing, which I love. But I can use that.
They have mine. I love you. Thank you.
If anyone ever needs extra labels, let me know, because I have a stash in my house.
Oh, somebody did need labels. Do we have any here?
Somebody here have labels?
No, but I'm gonna send some to Tanya. She can use them.
Okay.
Those are all the community service, the next three are ones that
So are
I,
those going in the back?
yeah,
Thank
they're all in that. This is one I made out of jeans.
I love that. So are these? Well, it's like, now what is that like? Sharp 5-inch squares and then you cut it to an inch in it?
Yeah, you don't mind Hunter did this. Well, I'm not gonna buy the pattern, I can shoot it. Long arming with denim means a whole different.
That's flannel on the back too.
No, the back. I'm not careful with these my daughter-in-law's sister is having a baby soon. So I did that for me, a little girl. And I put Joanne's Dinky type bag on the back. It's so
Nice. That does not go.
No, that's not.
The keeper?
Last but not least,
Oh, awesome. That's nice. Is that for your house or is that?
yeah, well, I don't know, yeah, sometimes, yes. I started making snails trails and.
You know, the family quilts I've made for their folks, they're just like, oh my God.
I am Kim Weber, and this was a Bonnie Hunter Malawi, and I changed some of the colors. I used pink as new.
Smile, Kim. That is gorgeous. All right, you can sit here.
So I'm Carolyn, again. This is for my daughter who likes the moon phases and Halloween. So it was called a Spooky Phases. I cannot put it on my UFO yet, Sue, because the binding's sewn on the front, but I still have to do it on the back and put the label, but it's almost there. But these, I did machine applique them with all the moon phases, and I actually draw my moons myself. So like the third one I've done, so long way to go, but it's my daughter, so I can practice on her, so, and in here. And she's got purple minking on the back.
Very nice.
So I'm Sharon Kalinowski, and I don't have any grandchildren, but I love the baby stuff. So anytime I hear of a friend or family member that's having a baby, they get a baby quilt. So that's what I've got here. They're not all finished, but I have a friend whose daughter and whose son and daughter-in-law are in Minnesota, and I made a quilt for her, which I'll show you, but I said, Grandma has to have a Florida quilt. So this is what I made for her. You can tell I've got binding to finish. You gotta turn it this way. And this is the Minnesota quilt. She said, or as they say, Minnesota. She wanted a woodland, and so this was not beachy, and I just sewn the binding on the front. And Julie has quilted all of it. But I thought that looked Minnesota. And this is for a friend. She didn't have a motif for her house, but she lives on Beach Street, so I had to make a beach for her. And these are all going to their new homes before the next meeting. And then on the back, it's just some more beachy stuff. And I love to make colorful stuff for kids. I think it really works out well. So that's what I've been doing. And again, Julie did an excellent job on this.
I forgot to say Julie quilted that.
Here's the ones.
So a few of us got together and we wanted to make up the pop-up trash bags. So we did. Yes. I went to Paducah last year and a friend sent me a really generous gift of cash. And so I kept going by Jilly's booth and I saw this bag and I thought, I'm not gonna pay that for a kit. I'm not gonna pay that. Well, I bought the kit. And so here it is. I started it at last sit and sew.
Nice.
It's a retreat.
Wow. That's so pretty.
Show the compartments inside.
And then there's, it's huge.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
There's pockets. For bag bottoms, I ordered them online and they were the size of my people. I guess I should have looked milliliters up on my ruler. So I did 3 buttons. I did 3 buttons for the bag bottoms. To raise it off, so. My son graduated from Florida State University and I made the wall.
Nice.
Thank you.
That's impressive. So those are like the main buildings on campus?
Okay, my name is Debbie West, and Miss Sue Chance said we want to make foster kid bags. So here's one of our little prototypes.
Oh, you don't have to talk.
So I quilted this on my arm, and then this took me like 2 hours to assemble it. Okay, I fell in love with this doggone stupid block of the month. I don't have any spare batiks, so I didn't make this with most of the spare batiks that didn't even belong to me to begin with.
I love your choice of the background fabric with that.
Thank you for backing. A friend of mine was teaching a panel class on do fun things with panels. So I got 4 quilts from somebody who I don't know. But these are, I brought one for Foster Sew, and then I'll give the other 3 away somewhere else. And I don't know why I didn't make any more block of the months, because I keep winning.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
And I put lovely llamas on the back. Okay. I'm pretty sure that, I have no idea. I think I bought this panel. And I think this fabric was a border kind of
I
print.
have that panel somewhere.
Still upside down. And I think, anyway, it was one of those that, it's like an ombre of flowers. And so I put the rest on the backs. And then at my house we have an orphanage. Not the way you think. But I had a friend come over and we worked with the orphans.
Wow. Pretty.
So we will have many, many more orphanages. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julie Swenson, and this is one of my UFOs. This was the versatile wave purse that Sue was giving me a crap about. I had to retire Tweety. So Tweety has been replaced. It's hard. No, it's versatile. Versatile wave.
So then you can put another
And
shell
then
on it.
Oh, okay. So you
Ah.
can place the bottom part.
That's cool.
And then this is reversible, so you can put it the other way around. And use it. So I can make. Here's some. A USB. Oh, I think important. Yeah, that's fine. So it could be that way.
Very cool. Julie, where did you get your glasses?
Those are my.
Yeah. They look nice.
Yeah.
I like your t-shirt too.
Thank you.
UFOs. My Twister Bunny. It's amazing how much you sew together and cut apart and sew together. And this quilt, I have to thank somebody for putting this onto the freebie table last month. I took it home and I had to cut a few more blocks out.
Oh,
But I finished it up. I added my dark blue and the outside border. It was on the freebie table. So
Nice.
whoever put it on there, thank you.
Good for you.
I was gonna say whoever put it on there, you now have a quilt.
No, you did the work.
Kelly is really quick back there.
Nobody's ever gonna believe me, Jean.
You just need to come to work. You're doing a good job, Julie. That's a tough act to follow.
Hello, I'm Debbie Morse. I haven't spent much time at home, but this is
We did this yesterday.
These are our traveling quilters.
this is my June block of the month. Northeast Shops.
This was like freebie fabric that they gave
Yes,
us.
so any of you that went to Quilted Twins, you got these. So when I got the strips, I went home and I had already bought the half-yard bundle. So this is called Two-Step. It's a Missouri Star pattern.
Nice.
My neighbors. That's all I have.
We just got back, Debbie and I just got back from Oregon and Washington. And so I was home for a week, and this is my
Oh, wow.
my Washington quilt. Wow. And it has all the blocks on it that you would get from the stores. Yeah, all Washington.
Cynthia, hold it up to me to the bear.
I've been collecting the national park ones.
Yeah.
Not sure what to do with them, so that's awesome.
The lady I cut fabric for has Minky National Park.
Oh, wow.
That is
Yeah, I'm trying to collect them everywhere we go. It's so fun watching your adventures.
All right, I'm Robin.
Hi, Robin. Nice. Pretty.
So, I'm trying to get my house to Oh,
Very pretty.
well, I have a plastic trunk, and so I'm trying to cover it and make my house look more beachy since I live in the forest.
Hi, Nanette. This first quilt is a combination of, I used a template for the circles. This is by J. Wicker Frisch. And then I used a new item on my machine where it actually, these were supposed to be material, but I embroidered them. But it did the same embroidery over and over and did it in the exact spot. So the machine really, and I love the backing on this one too. And Julie long-armed this. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, the back.
Oh, I love that fabric.
Isn't that great fabric?
Yeah,
Yeah, I bought a couple of yards of that.
that's very cool.
The second one is called Gathering Wildflowers, and I saw it on Etsy, and it's by Robin Pickens. And I really didn't know what I was getting into, but I have an extra copy of this if anybody wants it, or maybe not.
Let's see it first. Yeah. How difficult was it?
right way. So that's just part of it. That part of it is very easy, the other flowers. That was fun. The other thing I learned to do was this flange. I learned to do that from Missouri Star. She has a baby flange. Really, I thought that was cool. You want this? Also by Jay Weber Frisch, and it's called Paint Tin. And I thought, for my sewing studio, what a great thing to have with the colors. And then Julie long-armed this, and one of the great things about Julie is, she'll look through a lot of patterns with you, take your time. And so we did kind of a box design on that. So don't look too close at the colors because they're not exact. That's really not hooker's green. That's why. Did I show this one? This one is also J. Weber Fresh, and this is her iron pattern. And this is the one that she got this from. What is it? Hamilton, Missouri? Missouri Star. They have a collection of irons, and that's how she did this design. Yeah, and this is all her sewing pattern, the red. And then the back is, I like to use things that have handwriting on them and letters.
That's what we got.
No, this one I think I ordered directly.
Oh, that's hers.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then, and this, we use the pillow tickets too. I use the pillow tickets to the back of that. It looks like pillow tickets. But it's actually distressed pillow tickets. We could just throw with some tea on it. It's fine. Thank you.